Alright, so the next thing I did is I cut the dados in. I don't have a dado blade for my table saw, but what you do is you make one of these kerf makers. Just type in kerf maker in YouTube search bar, and you'll come up with dozens and dozens of videos of people who are way better woodworker than me, who show you how to make a kerf maker. So this is just one I whipped up and was able to do these dados. Now I didn't put them on center. What I did is I came in, I think 4 1/4 to the center of the board, and basically it's going to fit in just like that. The more weight will be put to one side. That's why it's off center, and the stand will probably be the opposite. So you basically just flip it around, and we do that. The next step. So this is our stand for our motors and the guts of everything. The next step I think I'm going to do is take the original stand that I built for the motors, and I'm going to cut. Well, I'm going to do the kind of the same style as you see as the regular motor stand, but I'm going to probably raise it up a little bit because the rods are tapered. For the newbies out there, you have the base of your blank, and it tapers. In a nutshell, it tapers down to the tip. And when you put it in a stand, when you put it in your dryer, you want to keep the rod as straight as you possibly can. So if I match, you have to just play around with it. Sometimes you might put this up a little bit. Well, that's a real exaggeration, but you might put it up, and when you put epoxy on there, it rolls backwards. Or if you go down too much, that's another exaggeration, the epoxy is going to roll down the rod when you're turning it, and it's going to leave a drip effect. So you want to make it as even as you possibly can. I think how I'm going to do this is just cut it to scale by cutting the rough shape up. I'm thinking I'll cut at the top of each one. So up here, here, and here, and here, and I'll just cut it out. And I'll connect everything and just roughly cut out. We'll cut it square. So what I mean by connecting everything is, what I'll do is I'll just take this and connect all my lines throughout, and then I'll just cut it out, this excess here, and then I can decide if I want to make it even with this bracket, or a little higher, a little lower, depending on how the level comes out. So that's what I'll do next. So there's the base cut out. It's dead on. So we're not going to touch this until we figure out where exactly our motors are going to be set up. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our motors and we're going to attach our couplings on the shafts. So this is what it looks like. You have your brass coupling and then 2 set screws And if you get the same pack as this one, basically every coupling set that you do get from Amazon or Banggood or wherever you get it from usually has an Allen wrench that comes with it. That's why I got all these Allen wrenches. So what you do is you take your coupling and just slide it on, okay? And I take my set screws and I just hand tighten them in there till they catch, the threads catch. Don't want to lose these little buggers. Okay, then I just take my Allen key and I tighten it up till it's snug. I don't go over tighten them, and there it is. So with all the couplings on, I wanted to figure out what thread this is, and I keep a box of random bolts from new to used, anything from outdoor stuff to electrical stuff. And the one screw that I found to fit perfect is I guess a screw that we use for attaching a ground. Fits perfect. I don't know the thread count to it, but this is what seems to fit perfect, and this is what we use. Now we'll process these guys. What we're going to do is we're going to sand a flat bottom in the center here, and then drill a hole in the center and attach those with our screws from the inside. Alright, so what I did is I took these over to the belt sander, and I used my disc to flatten down one side, and you just want to make sure that the outside's flat so it sits nice and flush against the coupling. And I used, to get the center, I used the markings on the back of the cap, and figured out that these writing here are the center cap, center for that, and then the 2 and the S is basically the center for there. And I drilled a hole that fit the screw, and I just took a screwdriver and got it in there nice and snugly, and it seems like it's holding pretty well. Now what I'm going to do next is figure out where exactly where I'm going to mount the motor on the back, so I can drill the pilot holes on the back of this, so it's going to sit just like that, except we got to come off a little bit, just because we don't want the Allen set screws to catch the wood, so we'll come off a little bit on there. And this is an option that you can do now, is this one I cut a groove in here using my bandsaw. I'll probably use my table saw on it with my dado, my kerf maker, and what I'll do is I'll cut a rib, I guess you could say, in here, so that when I do attach whatever I decide to attach on the top, if I want to, I could take a zip tie and cinch it down in that groove, and it won't slide off, and it'll be nice and tight. So that's your option. I'm going to go ahead and do it right now on all of them, so that so I have peace and comfort that I know that whatever I put on there, decide to put on there, it'll stay. I mean, going to what I'm going to use to keep keep the rod self-centered would be, I have what I showed you before, but there's also idea of using fitness bands, taking fitness bands and wrapping around and cinching them down, or taking a bicycle tube that will fit or stretch over and fit, that you can stick your rod through. I'm going to try this first, and if anything changes, I'll let you know. But let me cut these grooves in, and find out where exactly I'm going to mount those. Alright, so what I did is, I told you the option is I used to use my table saw and just ran it through and cut a groove in there so the zip tie could fit in there loosely. Okay. And then the next thing I did is I marked and I drew and I drilled pilot holes for the motors to mount on. Now I didn't go all the way through. I was marking them here and I said, we'll put them on this side. And good thing I did put them on this side because I could use my lines to figure out where exactly I wanted my motors to sit when it comes compared to the caps. And I made sure I checked that I was square in center of each groove cut and that my Allen wrench was not going to scrape even if there was some torque to it. So next thing I'm going to do is sand everything down, and I want to put a lacquer on this or some kind of protectant before I mount the motors to it. So to give you another idea of what's going on, the motor's going to go on this side, so it'll be fit in this groove, and the motors will go on here, and then down here next to well, let's see here. Yeah, so next to the last motor here that's set up, there's going to be a little junction box is what I'm going to make that goes on top of that. And what that's going to have is each and every motor is going to have its own switch to turn on and off. So let's say I only need to do 3 rods at one time. I can just turn 3 on and the last one doesn't have to be on. Or maybe I just need 1. So that's the idea, and that'll come for the wiring. Let's go ahead and sand this, and let's go ahead and protect it real fast. Alright, so what we did is we coated it. What I used was a spar polyurethane, and this is clear high gloss. It's okay. It was an older can, but should be no problem. Off camera, I sanded this down and got all the marks, pencil marks off of it, and then I took it over my router table and rounded off everything except the bottom on these ones, and I did the bases as well. I rounded the top, I didn't round the bottoms. And this, for the support stand, I did this off camera as well. I rounded off everything, and as you see here, I got cuts from when I cut out everything. I did everything on the table saw, and I just wasn't thinking, but you know, it's only aesthetic. It's nothing that's gonna hurt anything. It doesn't bother me that much. Maybe it will later on. Rounded everything over, sanded, rounded everything over, and how I cut this was I used the original, and all I did was moved it up probably 3/16 of an inch, and used our compass that was already set for our circle, marked it, and I took it over to the drill press and used a hole saw, which I should have did for the main mount. Instead of cutting it on the bandsaw or jigsaw, I should have cut it on a hole saw. Things you do different, you know. So, but it looks, the curves are a lot better, and it's slightly higher, which is what I wanted in the first place, because the taper of the rod. So you gotta remember, on this mount, what we're about to do is we're going to mount the motors to the back, And where they're going to mount up, you also have the center of this. And the center of this is going to be needs to be slightly higher. I mean, not the center of this. The supports need to be slightly higher than the center of this, so that your rod will be even, because of the taper of the rod, so that the epoxy does not roll. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to mount it to this. Now, many ways we can mount this. We can glue it on there. We could brad nail it in. We could simply just nail it in. I'm going to I'm going to pre-drill, and I'm going to pre-drill the base first, then the support. I'm not going to glue anything, because if I ever move, which I could move in the future, I want to be able to take everything apart. So I'm going to undo this by using screws, and I'm just going to countersink them in through the bottom. Beautiful. Ta-da! We can go ahead and hook on our motors. I'm gonna go ahead and do the support. Put the support on the base and hand tighten these in as I go. And you guys don't need to sit through all that. You guys know that. And I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so I attached the supports to the base. I attached the motors to the stand and attached the caps to the motors. Starting to look pretty good, don't you think? Now we got to figure out how we're going to wire this. If you haven't dealt with these are usually found in microwave ovens, and both wires are blue because it really doesn't matter what's positive, what's negative. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to wire this. In no way I'm an electrician. No way I'm professional at the electrician stuff. And I'm sure if you're going to try to do this, you can do it too. But that would be your warning. You're on your own on that one. So here's how I'm going to wire it. With the support stand, the last thing we're going to do with this is put some felt on these supports, and we'll glue that on a certain way. So we don't need that, and we can put this off the side real fast. Alright, so what I did off camera was I took some some felt, and I took some contact cement because that's all I had laying around for this kind of stuff, and I put some on the stand, and I cut some strips of felt and glued it on. Now I might go back and add another layer just for added cushion, because this is pretty thin felt, and that's not going to be a problem. Now, when it comes to the motor stand, I'm going to show you what I did. It looks like a hot mess, and it is a hot mess, but I'm going to clean it up. Whew. Hot mess. Everything's connected. I just haven't tucked away the wires yet, and did everything. So I turn the main power on now, and then I can turn individual motors on, like so. And let's say I'm done drying, I can just click and they're all off. And then if I want to turn them all on, they can. Maybe I need all but the second one on. Maybe I need the two middle ones off. Maybe I just need the bottom one on. So everything works. I'm happy with it. I just got to tuck everything away. For the box, like I said, I only made scrap. I left an inch on each end on that side, and I left an inch right here in the middle, and that's just to get the wires through. I also took a Forstner bit and drilled a hole for the main power to come through. I wanted it in the front. I know a lot of people like it in the back. I wanted the front but how my shop is set up for my rods is all my power's in the front of my work table. So everything will be getting plugged in from the front, and that's how it's going to be for now. If I wanted to switch it, I could flip this around and do it the other way. I have plenty of wire. I can always take off the countersinks, which I just countersinked it in with some flathead panhead screws. So everything's good to go. Alright, so here is what we did. I went through, after I showed you guys the first time I went through, and I cleaned up some of the wires, got everything to fit in there a lot nicer. I put this plastic corrugated pipe around there to dress it up a little nicer. Also did it to the power cord. When it comes to the self-centering part of this, this was the hardest, I would say, for this build, was to figure out what I was going to use to fit in there. I mean, I could have done the put the screws in, then put the rubber bands on. I could do that, but I wanted to try this. This seems like it's going to work. Now I'm going to start with these four. This one's a smaller diameter one, and this is a wider diameter one. What I did is I took a tarp kit, like tarp kit like this, and they come with a little shaved pipe that's will punch through a tarp and other material, and I use that to make the smaller diameter ones. And then for the bigger diameter ones, I just used this metal pipe that I had here, and I grinded down that end and used that to punch through with a small little hammer, punch through. I think I'm going to use different sizes for like the other ones that I have, and I have backups so that I could use different size rods. Well, now I need to clean it up. I will say with these ones are a lot thinner material, and I wanted a clean cut because you can't just drill through it, because if it drills through, it'll catch and tear everything up. So I wanted a clean cut, so that's how I did that. this was easier to do than these ones. These ones are thinner, these ones are thicker, but they're molded in a certain way, so you got to make sure you're dead on when you punch through. Let me get it set up in the shop and I'll show you how everything works with actual rods in them. Alright, well here we are. I got 3 rods in right now. The last one I don't have one in because these are the only ones I have that are somewhat completed in my shop. You've probably seen, all these have been in my videos before. This one was when I was going to casst of 2016, and these two, this one and this one, were used for to show you demonstration of how to clean and protect EVA and cork. So I got everything set up. Sorry for my mess. I'm currently going through and changing how my setup is. This is exactly where I wanted to put it. No, I don't wrap my rods way back here. What I'm going to do is set up, put some Velcro strips at certain depths on my table, so that when I do like my wrap, I like about 6 inches away from the edge of the table to do my rods. This gives me enough room. So I'll probably put different Velcro tabs so I can have it set at different depths, because I like everything being square when I do it. But you know, put some stickers on there, and let's turn it on. So the red button turns on the machine itself. Nothing's turning. Yeah. Yeah, for a thin little plastic, it holds it pretty good. This is a probably medium heavy inshore rod that's going to be redone, and the grips are going to be redone on it later soon. I get the time. I just turned it off. You know, this is one of my first bass rods I've ever built, but it's turning, doing good. And then the last one, probably more of a antique vintage surf rod, custom surf rod. I didn't do, but everything is turning just fine. So I'll show you this stuff, how I'm plugging it in, you know, pulling it out. Basically same thing as CRB, maybe a little finer detail, not finer detail, finer material. And all I do is I just see if I can do this one-handed. Plug it in like that. Same with this one. Get it centered up and get that end piece to grab onto something. So I'm doing this one-handed, you know, and that one too. And like I said, I have different sizes cut right here, and I really like it. I like the setup. I mean, it was pretty easy, and it was very fun to do this as we went along with you guys. So if you like this, let me know in the comments. Leave me a like, subscribe. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, but I'll get back up to it, back going again. I appreciate all the new subscribers. Keep it coming. Share the video. Again, this was a pretty easy build. I'll post a layout of all the parts of what I used and how much it cost me. I think if I remember, it cost me a little bit less than $60 to do this whole thing. But if you don't want to do this, There's many other options. You can go to Pacific Bay or Mudhole. They have great supplies of everything that you could possibly need to do this. It's already set up, ready to go. They have great products that they use for this. And you know, they have CRB stuff. Mudhole has CRB stuff that will work with this, and you do vertical and everything. I think what I would do different is when I have vaulted ceilings. I do this in my bonus room in my house. So I think if I were to do this again, I'd try to figure out and put it so it's up top. That'd be pretty cool. But or up, you know, up there. But again, leave a like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Thank you guys so much. Let me know what I could do better. Let me know if I'm doing a good job. I appreciate it. Thumbs up. Thank you guys.